All right, guys. Pete DeWeese here, coming to you live, kind of a makeup edition of Pete's Pigskin Preview. Different surrounding, no Neil, uh, terrible lighting because I'm at my office in the field house here in Georgia, and the sun is beaming down on my face. But wanted to give you something after the technical difficulties that we had earlier in the week. So thought I would kind of come back and just share some of the basic information. So different version, different setup, not the same preview, but still sponsored by Walk On Sports Bistreaux. Thankful, obviously, for all that they do, and excited we could still give you Ole Miss fans something. It's been a busy week. There's been a lot to talk about, but we figured let's talk a little bit about this upcoming matchup with Arkansas and Ole Miss. So, do have some film I want to show you. I'm going to show you film. Neil and I, we talked about the Alabama Ole Miss game. We're so far removed from that now with everything that's happened around Ole Miss athletics in the last week. And we're a day out from a big football game. So we're going to focus entirely on that. But I am going to show you some film primarily of Arkansas versus Alabama from their game earlier in the season, in part because I think there's merit to what we see on film and the schemes and things that we see Alabama do. But also, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you just saw Alabama. You know the barometer. It gives you the measuring stick. And if you believe in the transitive property thing, maybe there's something there for you as well. Okay, but we're going to start off and we're going to talk a little bit about the Arkansas defense. Okay. The kind of biggest thing I would say about Arkansas and who they are defensively is they are what they need to be depending on who you are as an offense. I think that, and I remember having this conversation last year as Ole Miss prepped for that big shootout victory over Arkansas, is in our minds of a lot of people, I think that it was the whole drop eight, right? Had picked Corral off several times the year before, had dropped eight, had been good enough against the run, forced Ole Miss to pass, and really given them problems. And while they certainly have drop eight in their identity, it's not necessarily all that they are. If you present them with one or two tight ends, which some teams on their schedule have done a good bit of, you're going to get four down linemen. You're going to get a heavy run box. If you play them spread out, you're going to get a lighter run box. You're going to get the three high safeties that they kind of base out of. You're going to get a five-man box with different guys coming from different angles to try and help stop the run. So I kind of want to point some of that out to you. As this game starts off, this first clip I'm showing, Alabama comes out in a four-wide set, two receivers on either side of the offense, and then they're going to motion their tight end into the box to now get into a little bit more of a run set. You can see there isn't a ton of change if you're looking at this from the Arkansas defense. What you do notice is they start out with only one backer in the box and the middle safety deep. But they're going to ask the two overhang backers, the guys that are outside the box, to be a part of the run fit, but they have to take away space by widening them. As Alabama motions the tight end into an H-back type position, number 10, bumper pull, the linebacker comes into the box, and you also see the middle of the field safety walking down because he too knows he is part of the fit. So they are going to maintain some version of box numbers, whether they get to it post-snap or they line up in it. There's always going to be some active movement up front. Okay. As you see this clip, this is a pass play by Arkansas. With the weather being, or by Alabama, excuse me, with the weather being what it's going to be in Fayetteville on Saturday, especially if the wind is blowing, I don't know what the passing game is going to look like for Ole Miss. They try to play somewhat close to the vest anyway, heavy on the run game, be selective about the shots that they take. But one thing I think that you can see Ole Miss try to do is attack the safeties. Okay, it's what everybody that's had success against Arkansas has been able to do. Is they have had plenty of opportunity to kind of isolate and attack those safeties. So here Alabama uses a play action scheme to hold the linebackers, keep them from getting underneath early, because that's really what I think their linebackers do best. Is they have a great feel for playing underneath in the passing game. But Alabama uses the outside receiver to hold the corner, and they use a route stem of the inside receiver to attack the safety, get him to open his hips, and then get the receiver into the void left by the corner. So when they throw this deep corner route, they create all the space by holding the corner back, and they're able to attack and isolate the safety one-on-one. So, we haven't seen a crazy amount of production from the slot from Ole Miss this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get Malik Heath, get Jonathan Mingo, one of those guys maybe in the slot, and try to help use them to attack the secondary. Now, one thing I can show you as we look at this end zone, and this is the same play. We know this is going to be a pass play because we just watched the wide copy. But kind of as a base rule, what Arkansas likes to do when they're in their odd front is they typically play a head-up nose. Sometimes he's two-gapping, where he's literally trying to just kill the center, and then he's going to work to whatever gap he feels pressure to try and let the linebackers behind him run free. Sometimes he picks a side and he slants the direction he's supposed to. To the side of the running back, they typically play a 4-eye, and at times almost even like a gap 3, where he's truly in the gap. Opposite of the tailback, they usually play a wide 5. The reason they do that is so if Alabama were to run zone, they don't want to give up an easy cutback. So they need a defender in this weak side B gap to control that gap to keep the back or the running back from just being able to easily cut things back. The reason you have the wide 5 opposite is if the offense wants to run stretch or power read or anything that gets the tailback on this vertical path, they need that end there to help cut it off and turn it back to their linebackers and safeties. Okay, so it's kind of their base alignment. So, Ole Miss, there's several ways Ole Miss can attack it. I think one thing we'll probably see, because we've seen it so much this year, is the version of counter where we see Ole Miss where they'll double back, block down, and pull this guard and tackle with the tailback on a bash concept, where now the quarterback is going to read the end, and if the end is upfield, the quarterback's going to pull it and run. And if the end squeezes, he'll hand it to the tailback, and then they have to just make sure they have numbers on the perimeter to block. So I could see that being a part of how Ole Miss attacks. And I'm going to show you in a little bit some of the ways that Ole Miss attacked last year. But I think understanding the basic principles of how they're going to align their front and then where their help is going to come from. It's going to come from these safeties that are going to fit late based off of the action that they see. Okay, kind of moving on here, okay? Again, going to show you another look. So when Arkansas wants to get a little bit more aggressive, they will bring one of these safeties from the outside. They do it a good bit, and a lot of times it looks like this, where they're coming from 8, 10 yards deep. They're coming from a wide position, and they're trying to time it up and hit it running. The big thing that I see is when they do bring these guys from pressure, the leverage that they sometimes and the technique they sometimes play on these receivers can be costly. The defensive back lined over the slot right here is a good 7, 8 yards off, and he's playing outside leverage with his hips turned to the inside. He is playing a technique that tells you he wants to funnel it to his help in the middle of the field, but the run action has taken his help away and put him in the fit as part of the run count. So I would not be surprised if Ole Miss is going to continue to get this look, if we continue to see this out of Arkansas, if you see Ole Miss work some type of a glance post behind those safeties, if they can effectively get them forward in the run game. Because you can see here, even on this clip, as the receiver releases inside, there is space there to potentially throw the football. Okay, the other thing that we'll kind of see is, again, they're not afraid to be a pressure team. And we've seen Ole Miss dial up more pressure in the last couple of weeks. Arkansas, from their 3-2-6, has not been afraid to dial up pressure at any point this season. And when they get into these pressure looks, they're typically fairly obvious what's coming. So here you see them trying to play a man-to-man principle. They are showing pressure again. There's a safety that looks like he's going to come from depth. You see Alabama's Bryce Young adjust his protection. But what I want you to see here is the use of motion in these pressure situations. And something that Kiffin always likes to do is add motions and window dressing into some of his base concepts. So here Alabama's going to use motion to affect coverage. They're able to identify the and get everything picked up from a protection standpoint, and they like their one-on-one matchup, so they work the one-on-one to the boundary here. But pay attention to the bottom of the field. Okay, where Alabama essentially motions into a wide bunch and creates issues with the motion, with the alignment, and the release of the receivers. Alabama conceivably has two receivers running free on this end of the field right now because, again, they catch Arkansas in these match principles. Now, LSU tried to take advantage of it some last week, and quite honestly, they just played poorly on offense. It's probably the worst that Daniels has played since early in the season. And they weren't able to take advantage of some of these things. And Arkansas has cleaned some of these things up. But I think if Ole Miss continues to get Arkansas into man-to-man situations, I think you'll see them try to use motion and maybe some stacks and bunches to help attack some of the bunch stuff that's going on. Okay, so as much as Ole Miss runs the ball, I wanted to make sure I showed you the four-man front that Arkansas uses. Here Alabama's got two tight ends on the field. That's not a luxury that Ole Miss has. It's not a personnel grouping that you see out of Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr.'s offense right now. But I wanted you to show it because of how much they do run the football. And if they get in a game where they're running it a lot, it's not out of the question that you see Arkansas go to this on run downs, even if Ole Miss is not playing with a heavy personnel. So they leave their best two linebackers on the field. They leave their three safeties on the field, and they take out what's essentially their nickel and bring in a fourth defensive lineman. And they keep some of their principles the same, but they do some different things. They have some different run stunts, and they certainly have some pressures that they like in these situations. And so, here, as you can see, they're essentially playing it like an odd front, okay, with a head-up nose, but they've reduced one side and they've added a defensive end. So one side plays almost like an even front. The other side plays like an odd front. And this nitro front, as a lot of people refer to it now, has become fairly popular against heavy sets because you eliminate the ability to create all the double teams that offenses always try to build. So this is a front that I would not be surprised to see Arkansas in. If you're running this particular scheme, let's just say split zone the way Ole Miss runs it, you have to single on the end right here, and you work an odd combo to this linebacker. It essentially isolates the center on the nose, and you lose the ability to gain very much help from this guard because of the angle that he would then have to work to get to his backer. You can combo this 3 technique and get the combo up to 42, which you want to do, and you get your tight end coming back across for the defensive end. Again, very common run scheme for Ole Miss, but you've eliminated the ability to build a very sound combo on that nose, and the defense is going to claim that and take it as an advantage. If you work the other direction, okay, you base here, you now can no longer combo both of the interior linemen. You're pretty much forced to solo the 3 technique. Now you can combo the nose and get here. Then you can now combo from this end up, and you invite cutback. But as the defense starts to use movement, one of the things you can't do, especially from this bunch set, is account for some of these overhang defenders. So what they'll do is they will try to move guys, whether it's move him or it's pressure here with a late fill to try and, again, eliminate the ability to combo and force the ball to cut where they want it to cut. Okay. Kind of last clip or two that I want to show you, just based on the Arkansas defense, is, right here, you see they come up and they're going to blitz to the back here. They blitz where the running back is, okay, and right here they kind of force the hat and they force the ball to cut where they want it to cut. Now, this is on a short yardage situation. This is a 2nd and short, I believe, 3rd and short. So it ends up being a first down, but By alignment, they take away the easy RPO on the perimeter with the overhang defender. The safety comes down late to try to take it away. And is by blitzing off the edge, you force the ball to cut back, and then you get the safety there to try to fill the void. Again, going back to look at the space by the slot receiver on the glance route, and it'll be curious to see if that's something that Kiffin trusts Jackson Dart to do, to find that window underneath that safety, but also navigate around the other safeties on the field. One of LSU's turnovers last week was actually the guy blitzing off the edge. Daniels tries to throw the ball out into the flat, and the kid makes a great play and goes the other way for a few yards and gives it back to their offense. So I think kind of the big thing for Ole Miss, if I were going to say, is, what's the run count? Here's the red zone. It's not a two-type formation, but you get the four-man front. You get a heavy box. It's a pressure-type situation. So how are they going to handle, how's Arkansas, per se, going to handle that front? This is actually one of my favorite formations against this defense. I think it's one of the better ways to attack them, especially if they're in their four-man front. Alabama, if you split it right down the middle, they have two receivers to the right. Then they have an H-back lined up off the ball and a receiver both to the left. You balance the defense a little bit. You see, you have to have a safety that's responsible for the H-back. Okay, and then they put 3 over 2 out here because they have to be able to get underneath the RPO, but also if anything were to come flat, whether it be the tailback or the tight end back across, they need a defender over there to catch it. So it balances up the defense, and you can see for anybody watching this one, if Bryce Young hands this ball off, it's got a chance to be an explosive play. He pulls it looking for an RPO option that's not there, but he's athletic enough to kind of put the cape on and get himself in the end zone right there. So I think it's important for Ole Miss. Again, how do they want to attack? Do they want to attack them from spread out formations, or do they want to attack them a little bit tighter? Okay, a couple of clips from last year, just some things that Ole Miss did that I thought were very smart as I went back and watched this game. They attacked them a good bit in the run game from wide personnel sets, and it's the same look that we saw on the first snap that I showed you of this year's Arkansas defense. It's the same structure from the defense. And Ole Miss decides to come out with this RPO where they were willing to throw hitches to these slot receivers all game long if the nickel and outside linebacker did not want to adjust. And then they felt that that put them working on a four-man run box. So again, it's playing the math, trying to find a way to win. Same front alignment that I showed you. Difference is here, they've got a different player. He's a wider 5 than what we saw earlier, and with a little bit heavier body than what they typically play with in this position this year. They actually have him in a gap where when against Alabama from this season, he was inside eye of the tackle. So what Ole Miss is going to do here, they're going to base out with their tackle. They're going to double the nose back to 27. They're going to put the guard out, and the tackle is actually going to pull for 31. They're going to run on number 1, the deep safety, and live with the fact that if he makes the tackle, it's been a good play. Now, this is play 1 offensively for Ole Miss against Arkansas last year. And you can see right here, what they'd love to see is for this tackle to pull tight, be inside out on 31, and for Parrish to hug this wall. And if he does, you can see what's there, what is potentially going to happen. Instead, they pull a little bit wide, the ball bounces out, and there's the unaccounted for defender that you have to be able to account for by RPO and by, again, your angles, because if that ball can hit right there in A-gap, it's absolutely a successful play. Okay, same play, again, Ole Miss, they go tempo right here. You get the same formation, exact same run play, except now linebackers are closer to the box. So Corral tries to turn and pull it and pop it right here. This was play 2. The connection's not there. It almost turns into a disaster for Ole Miss. But they come back again, probably wishes he would have thrown it to the top of the field. But they run this same play multiple times in this game to try and take advantage of the look in the front that Arkansas is giving them. Okay, I think this may be another clip of it. Yep. All right, so now this is my favorite run scheme that they came up with against last year. Again, they go wide. They get them into a 3 safety look. And by getting into 3-by-1, you kind of force them to make a decision on how they're going to play the backside. The corner can either be down, where he's going to be the flat defender, and he's going to attack the run, or he's going to be off, essentially playing man-to-man, and this safety is going to come down late, and he's now going to be the extra defender to that side. But because they felt confident in what the front is going to be, using the 3-by-1 makes it easy to tell who the force is going to be, who the secondary player is that's going to attack. So you can't really see the D lineman that's right there in front of 27, but I thought this was a great run scheme. They block down on that defensive lineman. They pull the guard around for the linebacker. They zone up and scoop the nose to 31. They just have to wall off the backside defensive end, and then they use the tailback, in this case Snoop Connor, and whether the corner or the safety is the force player, he's going to become the blocker on that force. Corral has an RPO to his right, run action to his left. So you can see he's going to look right, hold the backer. That helps this guard get up to 31 right there. He doesn't like what he sees, so he turns. And in a perfect world, they want him hitting this ball right here. He takes it wide. It's still a positive gain. There are times in this game where they hit the exact same scheme for bigger gains because, again, and I'm going to go back to the wide angle, they just find ways to create leverage and angles for blockers, which creates leverage and angles for the runners. And the truth is, if Snoop Connor right here can sort this out and get 2-7, again, look at the potential for another explosive play from the Ole Miss offense. 3rd and 7 right here. You can see Ole Miss goes tempo. They go back to the very first scheme I showed you. Again, boom, they're off on the slot. Take the slot, convert the first down. Come up, very next play. Go tempo again after you get the first down. Go the other way. They're off on the slot. Boom, easy first down throw. So I would anticipate, it's unlikely at this level of play that they're going to go back and rehash an entire game plan. But if they see the same things on film and prepping for this Arkansas team that they saw last year, the elements are still going to be there. Okay. Going to skip now, kind of change tunes a little bit, and let's talk about the Arkansas offense. Okay. They're not as explosive as they were last year, but they're still good. Second leading rusher in the SEC. Sanders is right behind Judkins. You have a quarterback that's, when healthy, can run it. They've got 2 receivers in the top 10 in the SEC statistically going into the week. So they're still moving the ball. They're still being effective. They just haven't quite been as explosive. Like so many teams that we've seen, Ole Miss play is they're going to be balanced and they're going to do a lot of different things with their formations. And the key to me, defensively for Ole Miss, is how are they going to fit and handle the read game. There's so much quarterback read in this Arkansas offense, and how Ole Miss chooses to defend it is going to be big. Alabama made the decision, we're going to put the ball in the tailback's hands. We're not going to let the quarterback run it via the read game. It's going to have to be designed. And so anytime they read an end player, that end player is forcing the quarterback to give it, and the rest of the defense knows it, so they're rallying to it. If Jefferson isn't healthy, does Ole Miss take the same approach, or do they challenge them to run him and see if that shoulder wears down over the course of the game? So, this clip right here gives you really a show of a couple of different things that you'll see from this Arkansas offense. So, one, number 9, Hazelwood, wide receiver, Cedar Grove High School here in Georgia, was originally an Oklahoma signee, portaled to Arkansas last year. A little bit of a jack of all trades. They use him a lot like Ole Miss is using Mingo right now. He's good down the field. He's good underneath. They put him in the backfield, use him in a lot of different ways. Their tight end, number 7, is an effective player, gives him the ability to ground him and use him as a blocker, but they can also flex him out, use him in space. So one of the biggest things that you see from this Arkansas offense is the ability to divide defenses with read elements. So Arkansas is going to motion here to try and affect the secondary structure of the defense and the support. So what they're going to do there is they're going to run a wide or mid zone to the right. And they're going to get everything rolling to the right with their offensive line, with Sanders getting behind them. Opposite of the run action, they're going to take this tight end and he is going to release wide and he is going to arc almost like a route to essentially occupy and block a defender. They're also going to bring 9 around, and he is going to sort out and he is going to find whoever is responsible for that C gap if the quarterback pulls it. So from a defensive structure standpoint, they're reading this outside linebacker. Okay, I believe that's Turner. If Turner were to come down this field and scream for the tailback, quarterback's going to pull it with a 2-man convoy, where now they should have numbers on the defense and a chance for an explosive. If that outside linebacker expands or steps upfield, now you've divided the defense and you give the running back a chance to go get behind his offensive line, which is what happens here. Turner expands, linebacker comes down. Okay, if he pulls it, the truth is they have a chance at a big play, but everything about his read tells him, hand this ball off. The offensive line does a good job getting lateral movement. That creates a vertical cutback. And there they are, and they're able to turn a backed-up play. I mean, this is second play of the game. First play was a quarterback sneak. They started backed up. Second play, this is what they do on second down from the 5.5-yard line. And quarterback standing in his own end zone. And they're able to spit it out for a first down outside the 15-yard line right away against that Alabama defense. Okay. So same action happening here, just a little bit different. Okay, now instead of there being a tight end that arcs out to occupy the corner and number 9 being lined up in the backfield to come around and take that C-gap overhang defender, now the receiver is going to arc and occupy the corner, and instead of being lined up in the backfield, 9 is going to come in motion to come do the same job. So they're just window dressing the exact same scheme. He's still going to read that C-gap defender for his run-pass read. Okay, again, if you go to the end zone copy, you see Dallas Turner again plays it the same way. He's playing this surf technique. He's riding his surfboard down the line of scrimmage, and he is daring the quarterback to pull the ball because he is square to the quarterback, okay, square to the line of scrimmage, and he has the ability to go attack vertically, to feather back to the outside, or once the ball is given to turn, run down the line and help prevent cutback. Okay. Again, O-line does a good job. Tight end gets to the safety. Alabama does not fit it great, and it's another good run from the Arkansas offense. But the key, again, goes back to same run scheme over and over again. Kendall's going to find 10 ways to get to this exact run scheme, guaranteed. How's Ole Miss going to treat it? Are they going to force the ball into the tailback's hands? They're going to force it into the quarterback's hands? Or are they going to try to play games, make them read it, and hope that they can fit it right consistently? Okay. The other thing that you're going to get out of Kendall Briles and the Arkansas offense is you're going to get funky formations. And let me see if I can kind of move my talking head around a little bit. You can see this is an empty formation where they essentially have 3 receivers clustered to the left of the offense, 2 receivers to the right. And they're going to give him, as a quarterback, options to throw the ball on both sides. And if he's outnumbered or doesn't like his throw, they give him the ability to run the football as well. Here, Alabama plays man-to-man up top of the screen. They rip the ball out there. Easy throw. There's number 9. Makes the first couple guys miss. Again, turns it into a positive gain for that offense. Okay. They come back just 2 plays later. And again, they show you so much of the divide zone looks where they're getting guys to arc for the quarterback. But they have answers if you're too aggressive on those looks. And this is an example. This play has become very popular recently I think I laughed and told Neil the other night, I called it 3 times last Saturday in our playoff game. Okay. It's going to look very similar. There's 9 coming across. It looks like 7's coming across. The O-line's blocking the same game. But now, instead of both of these guys arcing to block, they're going to put them in routes. It's not a bootleg, but it plays out very similarly to one. Outside receiver is going to run this post and try to pull either the corner or the safety. 9, instead of coming out to block, is going to get loose on a wheel route. And 7, instead of coming to block, is going to slip into the flat. If they give him a pull read, now he has the ability to quickly get the ball out of his hands for a throw and not necessarily force him to be a runner. And this is kind of one of the things that, if you're worried about him running with a bum shoulder, these are the type of schemes that I could potentially see Arkansas building heavy into their game plan, where there's still read elements, but now you give him throw opportunities on the outside instead of just quarterback keep opportunities. So you can see right here again, the defense dictates that the ball go to the tailback. Had this been a pull read, they flooded that side of the field. Not only could the quarterback run, there's the tight end wide open in the flat, because the safety, the force defender that's responsible for the quarterback in the run right there, if he were to pull it, has to carry that wheel route. And as a result, there you are with the wide open flat route and avenue potentially for the quarterback to run it, had the defense dictated this being a run play. But you can see that from a defensive perspective, there's the O-line. It is a full-out run. They are not in a hurry to get downfield. They're trying to win horizontally right there. It is a handoff, and it fits right into Alabama's hands on that particular snap. Kind of the other way that they will attack, okay? Again, take the same scheme, same divide. They motion across. Now you have 2 guys to arc. You have the motion receiver and you have the tight end. But now they're going to employ that bash that we've talked about Ole Miss using. Bash meaning back away, so if the run scheme is to the left, the back is going to work to the right. He becomes the stretch player, and the quarterback and tailback have essentially exchanged roles. So now as the offensive line blocks all their run game to the left, he's going to read it. If this end flies upfield, quarterback keeps it downhill. That end squeezes, going to hand it off. Well, all week long, Alabama built their game plan around don't let the ball get to the perimeter. Okay, right here you can see the is 31 steps down. He's so focused on the quarterback right there. They get the ball out on the edge. There's the numbers that they need. And again, turns into a very effective run. He makes a couple guys miss, good perimeter blocking, turns into an explosive. So this is another way for them, if Ole Miss is taking the ball out of the quarterback's hands, for Arkansas to try and get the ball on the perimeter. The other way they do that is they throw a ton of screens out on the edge. And we've seen, particularly the Kentucky game with Brown, teams have some success throwing those things, okay? Here's another example of that same bash play I just showed you. Now Alabama adjusts. Now it becomes a keep read, right? 15, Turner feathers out with that tight end right now. That tells him to keep it. There he goes. He now becomes the tailback. He fits inside, and he's a big, athletic kid that obviously can be effective as a runner. And then kind of the last thing, and it goes back to what I was just saying about throwing those screens out on the perimeter. Early in the game, we saw Arkansas come across. They had a run play, and they had the ability to throw the screen out here to the receiver. These are the things that they like to do to affect the way a defense is going to fit and defend the play. Here, if you start getting aggressive on those screens, they come in with what a lot of people call foxes, which are their fakes off of these screens. Ole Miss uses these. There's so many similarities between the roots of the Ole Miss offense and the roots of this Arkansas offense. I mean, Lane hired Kendall at FAU. A lot of what they do and things that he learned from Levy were, again, all from that Browse family tree and from that Browse system. So you see a lot of these same elements in this offensive game plan for Ole Miss. But if Ole Miss is struggling to throw the ball down the field, they're going to push the ball out into the flats, and if Arkansas gets aggressive, these are the type of things that you can consistently see as part of the Ole Miss offense that give them a chance to not have to throw it down the field and keep them out of third and long situations, because this is a first down, a second down call that keeps you out of third and long and keeps you out of those situations where Ole Miss has not been overly successful. So not the same. You don't get Neil asking questions. Maybe you just don't like hearing my voice the entire time, but wanted to give you guys something. Hope you enjoy it. Going to be a cold game in Fayetteville on Saturday. Hopefully Ole Miss shows up and they get warmed up, and hopefully they play that way. Arkansas is my least favorite team in the SEC, for certain. So I certainly hope to see Ole Miss get a win. But again, thank you to Neil. Thank you to Walk On Sports. And thank you for all you guys that tune in. Look forward to recording one later this week for the Egg Bowl matchup. Take care.